Hi guys, welcome to Crazy Burger. In this video we're going to be looking at the Thalamus Collection on the Super Pocket. Is it worth buying? Let's find out. Okay guys, so let's have a look at the Thalamus Collection. Now we have already looked at this in huge detail in a separate video on the Evercade VS. So if you want to look at that in detail, I'll leave a link in the description. We're not going to go into a lot of detail in all the games. We're just really looking at compatibility with the Super Pocket. Probably the first thing you would really need to do before playing these games, definitely read the manual. And there are 11 games here and not all of them are completely straightforward to play. And I think I want to look at this and pinpoint a few areas that are definitely worth looking at. Now, not a lot of the games use the shoulder buttons. Some of the shoulder buttons are mapped to certain things, but it's not a major problem. You could probably get away with not using the buttons too much, or the shoulder buttons that is. In Huntersman, for example, it's L1 is for exit off duty mode. Not entirely sure what that is, to be honest. ArmaLite, there's a few other options as well, but some of it is pretty simple, like changing demo mode, bullet speed, for example, 1-2 player on the title screen, change starfield, and that type of thing. So it's not, the shoulder buttons aren't buttons you're going to be using all the time. Hawkeye is pretty similar, uses it for a few different things, also selects the rocket launcher. So the buttons aren't used extensively. Some of the games don't even use them at all, which is fine. Now, I'm quite surprised that the buttons have been mapped to the shoulder buttons. I guess that is what it is, because we don't have a keyboard, do we? We can use a virtual keyboard, which obviously you press the select button to activate the virtual keyboard for C64 games, but for the best part you probably won't be using it. Again, there's some notes here about R1 and L1. A lot is just toggling certain things, which you probably don't even need to bother with. Creatures doesn't use the shoulder buttons. Summer Camp, I think there's something about music on and off. Usual help page on the title screen, that type of thing. Nothing major. Heatseeker does use the shoulder buttons a little bit. So definitely need to keep that in mind. We're trying to move to the next level, for example, L1 and R1. Once your objective's complete, but this game is just weird as heck. Creatures 2, there's lots of stuff in here. Definitely need to read the manual if you want to try and master those torture scenes, and then there's loads of mini sort of bonus scenes in between. Now, Winter Camp is a little bit of a pain, to be honest. I think it starts right away. You need to sort of waggle the D-pad. You know, does that make any sense? Waggling a D-pad? Probably not. To get started, you sort of need to move the D-pad back and forth, left and right. It's really difficult and probably almost unplayable on this D-pad on the Super Pocket. But I don't think you would be buying this collection for Winter Camp, or even this one here, Nobby the Aardvark. This also requires a little bit of waggling of the D-pad. This bit here definitely need to pay attention to. When Nobby is on the cart, waggle left and right to move. So it's almost unplayable. I think it does take a little bit of getting used to. You need to build up some momentum by pressing left and right on that D-pad. At first when I played this, I thought it was broke, it just wasn't moving. Because remember, these games were designed to be played on a joystick, not a D-pad. So it doesn't feel quite right on the D-pad. Also, probably something I should point out, if you are new to Evercade, it says Evercade EXPR and Evercade VSR is out now. But at the time of this video, it's really tough to get a VSR. It was released at the end of August. Can't find one anywhere. I know they're out there, but stock is a problem. And the Evercade EXPR at the top here, the handheld, definitely isn't out now. It's out in November, probably. Obviously, this was printed long before the issues happened throughout July. But anyway, it is what it is. Let's move on. Let's have a look at the games. Okay guys, so we're going to play briefly through some of the games just to highlight any problems and issues. So we'll start with ArmaLite. Now most of the games will probably play okay, but I think as you can tell, the screen is very small and it does make reading some of the text on the screen very, very tough. So if you've got poor eyesight, you definitely want to keep that in mind, that you may not be able to see this text very well at all. I think the colour scheme doesn't help here either. Playing the game though is absolutely fine. This one is quite nice, but as again, look at the bottom, it's really tough to see the text. But really nice game, and it does play and feel pretty nice on the Super Pocket. Okay, moving on to Creatures, definitely one of my most favourite C64 games ever. I know it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. It isn't easy either, it is pretty tricky. Especially the further you get into the game, it is unbelievably tough. Although I didn't find any issues actually playing the game, it was absolutely fine. No massive issues with the graphics or the buttons. Everything felt fine on the D-pad, on the actual buttons, and it doesn't utilise the shoulder buttons, so there's no major issues whilst playing this game. And changing with different weapons is fine as well. No massive issues, it plays absolutely fine. Again, I don't think the D-pad is amazing on the Super Pocket. Definitely one of the worst parts of the Super Pocket. It doesn't really have that same feel as the EXP or the controllers do on the VS. But it's okay, it works okay, it just doesn't feel amazing. Okay, moving on to Creatures 2. Pretty much more of the same, although it's not a side-scrolling platformer, it's more or less a single-screen game where there's more torture scenes, some bonus scenes, that type of thing, and it's probably a lot tougher. Definitely not as much fun compared to Creatures 1. It is very tricky trying to complete some of the torture scenes. I think a few of them I definitely had to refer to some walkthroughs. I couldn't remember how to do them. I didn't get really far in the game back on the C64, but yeah, my memory's not great. There was a few levels I totally stuck on. Nice game though, no massive issues with the controls, just not the easiest game to pick up and play. Okay, quickly moving on to Hawkeye. Again, some probably issues. If you get bad eyesight, then some of these sort of text and graphics might be a little bit tricky to read. Definitely a cool game. Don't linger about, because these enemies definitely seem to respawn constantly if you don't move on. But it's a nice game. I definitely think it's worth playing. Just not as bad as me though. Okay, moving on to Heatseeker. Probably one of the weirdest games you'll ever play. Definitely read the instruction manual to the best to play this game, because I don't think I will do it justice in trying to explain it at all. Absolutely bizarre. It handles weirdly, and that's nothing to do with the Super Pocket, it's just how the game is. Absolutely bizarre and weird. But it plays fine, there's no massive issues here. Graphically it's fine on the Super Pocket. It's just a little bit weird. Yeah, and you will have to utilise the shoulder buttons to move to the next level, but how many people are going to make the next level? I don't know. So the idea is to try and put out these fires on each of the levels, and then building up enough points so they can then move on to the next stage. But it handles weirdly, it's an odd game. So moving on to Hunter's Moon, another classic. This is the remastered version from a couple of years ago. Basically it adds a few extra levels, and it has this really cool intro scene. And happy to say it does play fantastically well on the Super Pocket. Again, maybe some of the graphics might be a little bit hard to read, but otherwise I think it plays okay. The D-pad definitely seems a little bit stiffer than on the EXP or VS, but it is quite stiff in reality in the actual game, but this definitely feels a little bit worse. Now, to utilise to the next level, you have to go diagonally to choose. It's not left and right or up and down. You need to choose the sort of diagonals of the D-pad, so bear that in mind when you're trying to choose a next level. Now this is probably where this cart gets a little bit unstuck, but I don't think you would be buying this cart for Nobby the Aardvark at all. Not one of Thalamus' better games. I've seen a few people describe it as CJ's Elephant Antics. I guess that is the best way of saying it, but I think CJ's Elephant's Antics is far better than this. This is just not much fun to play at all. Now, certainly one of the issues with the game is trying to waggle the D-pad once you get to a certain point in the game. And this D-pad doesn't feel great at all when trying to manoeuvre the different platforms. It just doesn't seem right at all. Okay, so once you get to this part, the whole point is you're supposed to build up speed by waggling the D-pad. Trying to actually get onto this thing is absolutely murder. So the whole point is to try and build up speed by moving the D-pad left and right and building up some kind of speed. but on the Super Pocket it is practically unplayable. Now you can do it with 2 thumbs, doesn't work very well. I found the best way is to try and utilise it by pressing it like this. But it is really hard to build up speed and then break through the barrier here, which is what you're supposed to do. And for me, I find this game completely unplayable on the Super Pocket, so not ideal. It's probably barely playable on the EXP, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. I don't think you're missing a great game anyway, but on this D-pad, it's a no from me. Okay, moving on to Retrograde, which is basically a bit of a grindy shooting sort of style game. It looks really nice. No massive issues playing this on this sort of Super Pocket. I think it's just one of those games you really just have to grind it out, build up enough points and coins to spend in the shop, upgrade your weapons, and then you move on to the next sort of stages. So just bear in mind, you definitely need to grind this one out. And if you don't mind that, then you'll probably enjoy it. Personally, I got a little bit bored trying to sort of grind it back and forth and just build up your sort of money to spend. It's just a bit painful for me. Okay, moving on to Snare. Definitely one of the better looking games on the collection. Really nice and colourful. I think the only thing I noticed about this was sometimes some of the text and graphics were a little bit tricky to read. So if you've got poor eyesight, then you may need to think twice about purchasing that. Although the graphics in-game, absolutely fine, lovely and colourful, look great on the Super Pocket. Definitely a little bit of a tricky game to play. But once you get your head around what you're supposed to do, the different controls, it's quite an interesting game. It's quite different to a lot of other stuff that's out there. So you're basically looking for the exit while avoiding some of the enemies. And you can jump, you can create a trail to sort of try and trap the enemies like that. Pretty cool, lots of sort of pickups as well here and there throughout the level. But yeah, really cool game. I've just went round in a circle there. It's quite easy to get lost and trapped. Yeah, pun intended. Okay, moving on to Summer Camp. I definitely enjoyed this back in the day, but playing it again now I realised how tricky this game really was, and I've no idea how I had the patience to play it back in the 90s. But somehow I did, and I got really addicted and enjoyed it. But just bear in mind, this one is really, really tough. But on the Super Pocket, no issues. It plays great, looks fine, very colourful graphics, looks lovely. It's just very, very challenging indeed. Definitely refer to the manual for the different controls, what you're supposed to do. Lots of pickups here. The whole idea is to basically collect all the Acme boxes to, as you can see at the top of the screen up here. There's lots of them. I think there's what, 6, 7 or something on each level before you can move on to the next stage. But that's basically the point of it. Nice game, but have patience when playing it. And finally we move on to Winter Camp. This one, pretty different game, and sadly it starts badly because you have to utilise the D-pad to build up speed, and that's where it all goes wrong. On the Super Pocket it's pretty much horrible, and it's probably just as bad as Nobby the Aardvark, and I would probably recommend not even trying to bother. So basically you need to try and build up speed. Now, as I said, the best way is probably utilising your index finger this way. Try to do it with your 2 thumbs. It's possible, but it is tricky. You just need to build enough speed. Keep the pointer in that yellow sort of box and just keep going. But you definitely get thumb fatigue and you sort of lose momentum sometimes. It's no fun to play. But amazingly, I actually managed to win that. I have no idea how. Maybe it's more possible than I realise, but yeah, I don't find this game much fun at all. Okay guys, so that's our look at the Thalamus Collection on the Super Pocket. I'd say overall it is just about worth buying it, especially if you love your C64 games. There's some real good classics on here. There's nothing major that's going to stop you playing these games for the best part. There are 2 that are unavoidable, that are probably ones you don't want to play much, is Winter Camp and Nobby the Aardvark. There's some sections within the game that are not fun to play on this D-pad, but other than that, it doesn't really utilise the sort of shoulder buttons too much, and the controls are fine. Probably some small graphics here and there that might not be great if you've got poor eyesight, but overall a very nice collection. Definitely better on the VS and the EXP, but just about worth buying for your Super Pocket, especially if you want to play this classic game, Creatures. Guys, thanks very much for watching. Catch you again in the next one. Bye for now. Oh, the pain. Oh, how harsh is that? Just about 2 or 3 seconds too slow. These torture scenes are difficult. Absolutely.